to our mountain lion habitat. Here we have siblings Sultan and Freya. They're about 1.5 years old. They were found orphaned as kittens in California and brought here to the EcoTarium because they couldn't survive on their own in the wild. Sultan and Freya really enjoy chasing each other around the enclosure and staring at our resident wild turkeys when they come by. Mountain lions used to be native to the area, but once early European settlers came around, they saw mountain lions as a threat, so they couldn't be around here anymore. If you're sticking around, you might have some trouble finding them because they really enjoy hanging out really high up. So if you can't see them down low, try looking up high.
Welcome to the EcoTarium. This is Ralph. He is our resident turkey vulture here at Wildcat Station. He is 3 years old and he is with us because of a wing injury that he sustained when he was younger. Ralph's favorite food is rat and fish. Vultures like dead and decaying things. Turkey vultures have a wingspan of about 6 feet, which they use to glide up in the sky and soar instead of flapping their wings. Ralph's favorite thing to do is to perch and put his wings all the way out and sun himself. This helps keep him warm and helps keep his wings nice and clean and dry.
Welcome to our raven habitat. Our 2 ravens, Jan and Poe, are very social and intelligent animals. You can often find them hopping around their habitat, either interacting with one another, enrichment, or foraging for food. Keepers really like to exercise their intelligence by hiding food around their habitat. This challenges them to watch and remember where keepers have chosen to place things.
Welcome to our red fox habitat. Fox is our resident red fox, and he's a very smart and resourceful animal. Foxes are omnivorous, which means they source their diet from both plants and animals. Here at the EcoTarium, Fox gets a variety of food, including fish and rodents, as well as fruits and vegetables like apples and carrots. In their native habitat, foxes will be foraging for their food. So keepers use special enrichment items like boxes and wobble feeders to keep Fox active and his skills sharp.
Our resident porcupine. He is 18 years old and he's lived here at the EcoTarium his whole life. He has orange teeth that are filled with iron to keep them nice and strong. They do grow continuously, so he has to chew on wood in his habitat to keep them short. His favorite food to chew on is sweet potato, and he does have specialized hair called quills that he uses for self-defense.
western screech owl habitat. In this exhibit, we have one screech owl. His name is Marvin, and a lot of people have some difficulty finding him, which makes sense. These screech owls blend in very well to their surroundings. He most often spends his time up in this house in the left corner. So if you are looking around and you don't see him, definitely just peek in. They do a very good job standing still and just kind of looking like tree bark. So here at our screech owl habitat, we have some new additions. They are not new to the EcoTarium, but they are new to this exhibit. So we actually have opened up our skunk habitat to the outside. They now share their habitat with Marvin, our screech owl. We have two skunks here at the EcoTarium. Their names are Misty and Stormy. Stormy is our standard black and white skunk, and Misty is what is called apricot coloring. So she is a white skunk. If you're looking for them outside, they're most often going to be in their logs sleeping. Hi everyone, welcome to the upper pond. So this is one of my favorite places to look out for birds at the EcoTarium. So there's a lot of red-winged blackbirds that you'll hear around here. Other native songbirds like sparrows and warblers. And if you're really lucky, you might see the green heron or a great blue heron or even a belted kingfisher. Other things you might see in the water are some frogs and turtles.
North American river otter habitat. Our two resident North American river otters are named Slidell and Daisy. Slidell is our male and he is 13 years old. Daisy is our female and she is 3 years old. The best way to tell them apart is that Slidell is bigger and has more white fur around his face and neck. North American river otters normally eat lots of different types of aquatic animals like amphibians, crayfish, and shrimp. Slidell and Daisy's favorite food is fish. North American river otters are adapted to live in New England weather conditions. In the summer, both otters can be seen swimming in their pool, and in the winter, they can be seen sliding around in their habitat on their bellies.
So the meadow is a great place to stand and observe some native flora and fauna. We have lots of native plant species right here, things like red clover, lots of native grasses, and really importantly, milkweed. So milkweed you might know as one of the main food sources for the monarch butterfly, which are a really important pollinator. So when you're standing here kind of looking out at the meadow, keep an eye out for lots of species of butterflies and moths and insects, but make sure you keep your eye out for the really beautiful monarch butterfly.
All right, welcome to our bald eagle habitat. Here we have two very special birds, Diane and Bob. They're diurnal, which means they spend most of their time active during the day. You'll see them basking up on the perches in the sun or bathing in their natural pond. You can tell them apart not only by their location, but how they look. So Bob dwells mostly on the ground, and he has an all-white head, while Diane will be mostly up on the high perches, and she has a white head with brown spots that will fade away as she ages.
Welcome to our barred owl habitat. Our two barred owls are named Blanche and Rose, and they live with us because they have eye injuries that would make it difficult for them to hunt and thrive in the wild. Naturally, barred owls eat rodents, but they will also eat fish and crayfish. Here at the EcoTarium, our owls still work for their food by participating in positive reinforcement-based sessions. They are trained to touch a target, step on a scale for weights, and even step on a keeper's hand so they can stand at the front of the habitat for chats.
Welcome to our lower pond area. Here you will find lots of different types of critters. We've got amphibians such as frogs here. We also have lots of different fish species such as white suckers, pumpkin seeds, creek chub. And we also have a resident snapping turtle who lives in here, and every spring she will come up by an area of Lower Wildcat Station to lay her eggs, so keep an eye out for her as well.
One of the best days I've ever had, about a month after I started the EcoTarium, is when this little guy showed up on my desk. I was given a random huge box of skulls. I couldn't have been happier. This, at first glance, might look like a human skull, but if you look at the brow ridge and the especially long canine teeth, this is actually a chimpanzee skull. They share 98% of their DNA with us. That's closer than horses and donkeys. This is the skull of an albatross. This is the family containing some of the largest birds on planet Earth. We are not entirely sure of what species this animal is, but albatross's wingspan can be up to 6 feet wide. These are fossil crinoid stems. I'm not sure if you can see the iridescence, but these are the stems of a prehistoric animal related to a jellyfish, but instead of floating free like jellyfish do, it grew on stems at the bottom of the ocean. This object is a dolphin jaw. One of the things on it that's unusual is that it has this scrimshaw carving of a ship. A friend of mine who is very interested in the age of sail says that this is an American ship, which you can tell by the massiveness of the timbers, and that it was after the Napoleonic era, which you can tell by the set of the sails. This is a very well-observed portrait of a boat. This is probably an engraving of the boat that the person who was carving this was sailing on at that time, and any of his crewmates would probably be able to recognize this as a specific ship. Canids are my favorites. Dogs, wolves, foxes, and all of their kin. I love them. This is the skull of a gray wolf, Canis lupus. It's difficult to tell from just a skull, but this would have been a seriously large animal. This, meanwhile, is the skull of a red fox, similar to Socks, who we have here on the grounds, although apparently this skull was collected in 1955. This is the skull of a domestic dog. This is a mounted specimen of a domestic dog, again, also from sometime in the 1950s. You can tell the difference between a wolf skull and a dog skull, and indeed the skull of any other canid, because dogs are mutants. Humanity has shaped dogs to meet our needs over the millennia that we've been together. Dogs have much shorter muzzles, relatively speaking, than wolves. They have taller foreheads. Their foreheads are more upright, and their eyes are larger in relation to their faces. This is because humans have selected dogs for something called neoteny, or similarity to babies. People like things that look like babies. We like dogs with sweet faces and short noses and big eyes. Dogs, in relation to wolves, dogs actually have 2 more sets of eyebrow muscles that enable them to pull the puppy dog face expression that we all know so well. Humans do a lot of communication with our eyes, and dogs have followed along with us in that so that they can more effectively beg for treats. With Easter coming up, for those of you who are interested in keeping your beautifully dyed Easter eggs all year long, it is possible to drain the contents out of an egg by drilling a small hole in the top and a rather larger hole in the bottom. This egg has been made so it will look nice on display. If you want, you can do the holes right absolutely at the apex and absolutely at the bottom. You drill a hole, you push a pin or a chopstick or some other long, thin thing in through the egg, sort of scramble it around in there to break up the yolk, and then you blow just as hard as you can. Your eardrums will pop, and a whole bunch of egg goo will come out of the larger lower hole. And then you can keep your decorated egg forever. Be prepared to crack some eggs while that. This is a tun shell, T-U-N, meaning large barrel. It is really large for its species, but it's not quite museum quality because it has a broken spire. The broken point removes some of the information that could be provided about the animal's early years when it was very small. But it does let me grab onto it like a trumpet and go. This is the upper and lower jaw of a walrus that the tusks have fallen out of. These tusks would be mounted in here like this while the animal was alive. What just entertains me endlessly about walruses, in addition to their tiny little eyes, is the fact that their noses are almost solid bone. I would have thought their noses to be squishy, cartilaginous, kind of soft like a dog's nose. But no, their noses are solid bone. What is this? What is this? In the EcoTarium's 200-year history, we have unfortunately collected a lot of things that are not labeled. It drives me wild, since it is my professional duty to make sure that we label all the things. Given, however, the presence of a little clamshell and the terrible smell, I believe that this is a chunk of marsh grass or possibly seagrass. So another collection that we're working on at present at the EcoTarium is our historical technology collection. Our intern Alham Alkuheli is working on taking down information on the microscopes. We've had these microscopes just forever. The EcoTarium has existed for almost 200 years now. And this microscope has a repair ticket from 1954. It looks to me to have been even older than that. But these are all just tools that we've used at the EcoTarium, the Worcester Natural History Society. And we've had them around so long that they've become historic technology. So now we are working on cataloging them, categorizing them, figuring out where they came from, how old they actually are. My favorite is this one right here. This is a Bosch and Lomb from sold in Rochester, New York, originally manufactured, I believe, in Germany. They still make optical equipment and indeed contact lenses today. This is a compound microscope in that it has two different optics that can be brought to bear. This is the higher power optic and would give you a closer magnification. I'm looking forward to learning what Alham finds out about the development of microscopes. They started out as simple hand lenses, magnifying glasses, then two magnifying glasses held one over the other, and then all of this apparatus in between to ensure precise and reproducible results when looking at something under, say, 100 power magnification versus 200 power magnification. Lately, there has been a lot of interest in how birds can reflect the effects of climate change. A study by Brian Weeks out of the University of Michigan found that birds have been shrinking in response to climate change. Weeks was working with birds from the Field Museum at Chicago, but because the EcoTarium has existed in one form or another since 1825, our specimens are maybe somewhat older than those found in the Field Museum. So one of my interns, Sarah Ismail, has been making a project of really pushing to get the last of our ornithology collection online. and has been categorizing these woodpeckers, red-headed woodpeckers, for comparison to weeks data.